Okay, so in this video, we're going to be going over the difference between Algebra 2 CP and Algebra 2 Honors. So what you could expect to learn from this video is the difference between the two courses as far as their course descriptions, general class expectations, workload, homework, assessments and grading of those assessments, and things to consider when making your ultimate decision. So as far as the course descriptions, that is on the school website, and so I'm not going to read through this, so feel free to go to the math department website for this information. But there definitely are more topics, and the scope is a lot wider in Algebra 2 Honors than in CP. Okay, so here are the major differences, and the red highlighting there indicates what the honors courses includes that the CP doesn't necessarily. So under course descriptions, more units are covered and in a shorter amount of time. So we cover a lot more content and in a lot more detail. Okay, as far as class expectations, in honors, you need to be more independent and be able to learn on your own and discover things on your own and come in with appropriate questions. A lot of the learning is at home and on your own and through the practice. As far as workload, there's definitely going to be a lot more time spent on homework and preparation for assessments outside of class at the honors level than there will be for the CP level. Even if that homework isn't necessarily checked or counted for points, there will be a lot more time that you'll need to spend outside of the classroom to be successful in the class. And as far as assessments and grading are concerned, the assessments in CP a lot of times look very similar to review sheets and study guides and problems done in class, whereas at the honors level, as you're going to see in a future slide on here, it's a lot more difficult and a lot more intense. And partial credit is seldomly awarded, okay? As far as instruction, in CP, it's more teacher-directed. There's guided notes that are provided. There's a lot of time in class spent reinforcing the lessons through activities and practice worksheets, and just in general, more time spent on each topic. Whereas at the honors level, there's a lot more exploration and investigation and learning on your own, which is why you need to be more independent. And the practice outside of the classroom not only reinforces, but a lot of times there's unique little problems that come up where they may not have come up in class. And if you don't do the homework, you won't see those things. Okay? And we move more quickly at the honors level through each topic, and the problems are way more difficult, as you're going to see in a couple slides. And then finally, expect regular group-based discussion. Okay? As far as difficulty level, here's just a couple examples. In CP, it's a factoring problem where there's just two steps. It's just a simple GCF and then a difference of squares. Whereas in Algebra 2 Honors, it's 4 terms. You have to factor GCF a -1 out of the last 3 and recognize to do that. And then it ends up being a perfect square trinomial. And then that ends up being a difference of squares. But it's a far more complicated problem than what you would be given in CP. Okay. Also, again, no partial credit would be given if there was a slight issue with one sign or something like that at the honors level. Okay, here's another example of a simple problem from Algebra 2 CP where you have to rationalize by multiplying by root 2 over root 2. Whereas at the honors level, the problem here is 3 over the cube root of 2 plus 1. And to rationalize that, you need to multiply by a trinomial over itself. That creates what we call a sum of cubes here, and it's a much more complicated problem than what would be expected at the CP level. And finally, an example side by side of a radical equation given in CP versus in honors, and you could see the number of steps required for honors there's a lot more steps, okay? Homework. So in CP, the homework actually counts for a lot more of the credit, maybe 10 to 15%. There's answer keys. It's gone over in class, and maybe 15 nights per average, or on average. Whereas at the honors level, we rarely check homework. It doesn't count for that much of the credit. You're responsible for checking your own work. Minimal class time is spent on it. We might go over one or two questions if we have time, and on average, about 30 minutes per night. Okay, in terms of reviewing, this is a huge difference. In CP, study guides are often there's study guides given, and there's time in class, like a whole day or a half a period at least spent reviewing in class. That doesn't happen at the honors level. We have too much content to get through, and therefore there are no study guides provided. You have to go through the notes on your own. You have to go through all the worksheets on your own. You have to know how to put together your own study guide if you want a study guide, okay? And the review is independent and at home. A lot of times while we've moved on to new topics, sometimes we delay a few days so that you have more time to review, but you'll be responsible for learning new material at the same time as studying for assessments. Okay, in terms of the actual assessments, in CP, there's partial credit given on most questions. You have more time per question. The questions are very similar to those that were in the class notes and homework and worksheets. And there's a lot more small quizzes given. Whereas at the honors level, first of all, there's very limited partial credit. Once in a while, if it's a multi-part problem, but very rarely is there partial credit given. Missing a negative is a huge mistake, and it's most likely going to be completely wrong. You have to work at a quicker pace and know how to pace yourself for tests and know how to skip problems and go back to them, because there's always going to be spicy problems where you have to make extensions and maybe connect back to prior learning. And it might be something that we didn't do exactly like in class, and you have to be able to answer those types of questions in class. Also, very few small quizzes given. Usually we go through a big chunk of material, have a test, and then we keep moving. Also, a lot of times we include material from previous tests just to make sure that you don't forget that and haven't forgotten the previous material. Just an example of how a simple solving by factoring problem or equation would be graded differently. So the correct answer should have been -2 and -1. And in either case, the kid put -2 and 1. So in CP, it might be -1 or 2 points, probably -1. But at the honors level, it's completely wrong because it's a very simple problem and it shouldn't be wrong. So some other things to consider when making the decision. Number one, and very important, is which course did your current math teacher recommend for you to take? They know the curriculum. They know what's best for you. They've experienced, your learning style, your abilities throughout the year or half a year at least. You really need to take what they say seriously. How did you do in Algebra 1? If you weren't a pretty solid A student in Algebra 1, Algebra 2 Honors is going to be difficult. Do you enjoy math or have curiosity about math? If not, it may not make sense to take Algebra 2 Honors. How many other honors and AP classes are you taking? You might need more time to dedicate to honors than you think, including coming for extra help, a lot of time outside of the classroom. So that's definitely something to consider, okay? Do you enjoy being challenged? You will be challenged on a daily basis at the honors level, okay? And finally, if your goal is to take AP Calculus eventually in the future, there are other routes to do that. And if you take Algebra 2 CP, you could potentially take Pre-Calc Honors. There's other options. You could eventually possibly switch to the AP course. Finally, what is the intent of the course, meaning Algebra 2 Honors in this case? So this course is really recommended for students who are interested in pursuing higher level math courses such as AP Calc AB or AP Calc BC. So you need to expect the course to be taught, assessed, and graded as if it is an AP course. And it's known to be one of the more difficult courses at Livingston High School. So hopefully you found this useful, and any questions, speak with your guidance counselor or your current math teacher.